Welcome to the Core Women Podcast, the place for women entrepreneurs, authors, and self-starters looking to build community and gain valuable insight through expert interviews with women at the top of their game. Join your host, podcaster, producer, expert coach, entrepreneur, and author, Dr. Summer Watson, as she aims to inspire and empower you through these candid conversations. Lean in and embrace the journey. It's time to start the show. Here's your host, Dr. Summer Watson.
Today on the show, I'd like to welcome Ruth Kent. At a 41-year career as an ICU trauma nurse, dealing with her own chronic pain and trauma, it caught up with her. She was having challenges breathing, felt scared and hopeless, and was committed to finding a solution. Ruth was introduced to energy work that not only led her to wellness, but provided her with the tools to help discover and break free of self-limiting and lifelong thought patterns. Ruth now helps others with the same transformative energy wellness tools. We have a good deal to talk about today, Ruth, so let's just jump right into this and welcome.
Well, thank you, and I'm honored to be here. I align with your mission and helping others the way you do so beautifully, and so I'm really honored to be with you on this journey.
Thank you so much. So let's talk a bit about where you grew up, how you developed some of your long-held beliefs about life.
Well, I grew up. I say that, and I'm still growing up.
Right.
You know, I'm gonna turn 70 this year, and I think I'm just starting. You know,
Yes.
And I was raised in a little town of New Ulm, Minnesota. And very German little settlement, beautiful. I had a great childhood, but we hear that phrase, we know what we know what we don't know, but we don't know what we don't know. And growing up in that loving environment, which many of my clients didn't have that. So what was it that tilted me and, had all this inside files that even with a loving childhood, nothing really dramatic per se. I mean, we had some issues, but we always were provided for. We had amazing love. And the greatest gift that they gave me, which has been the core to help me, and I love the word core, was they taught me the gift of faith. And faith wasn't a demanding thing to do. It wasn't, it was a gift that they gave me. It was the gift of believing in something greater than even myself. And when you look up the definition of faith, it's complete trust in someone or something. And that was the gift that helped me through my challenges as I got older.
Okay.
And that's the connection of the part of what I don't know, because there is a greatness within us that through this challenge, I got to connect with and continue to get to know.
Yeah. Well, I like what you said there. You don't know what you don't know. And for some reason, there was chronic pain. You dealt with your own trauma. Do you think this could have been kind of residuals of all those years of being a trauma nurse?
Well, yes, but it started even before that.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I came to find out with the use of the emotion code, body code, which is a form of energy work, going into the subconscious files, which is 99.9% of us. We think it's our consciousness. Well, we're being triggered. We're being guided by that files. And what I didn't know is that the inherited components that were passed on. And even though my desire was to be happy, joyful, kind, giving, the internal conversation I was having was, you're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You'll never make it. You can't do what others do. And so it was this constant battle. And when you're in that constant battle and you're by force moving forward, it's going to show up somewhere. Father Richard Rohr has a beautiful statement, and it says, pain that is not transformed is transmitted. It's going to show up somewhere. And I was a little sponge. I just kept gathering all, and well, just let me give you an example. I think that's sometimes the easiest. Is a year ago, Mother's Day, I was walking up my driveway, simple little driveway, and all of a sudden I couldn't breathe. My daughter was going to call 911. And I said, no, let's just, here I am, a trauma nurse. Oh, no, don't call, And it was very interesting because I proceeded to, and I'm not against Western medicine. Please understand that there is a reason for everything that has been created. It's there to assist us. But to depend on one or the other and not to understand the benefit of all, that's where we can get into trouble. But in my moment in time, I was guided to get checked out to find out if there was a quote unquote cause and effect, and then, continue to move forward. Well, I kept doing energy work using the Nikan technology, which I can share later, but the emotion code, body code. And then I went to get a stress test, and literally, Dr. Watson, they had to carry me off of the treadmill. And they said I passed. I said, what does it show up when you don't pass?
Right.
I was, even as a nurse, a trauma nurse, I was quite confused. What they noticed is that my heart rate recovered immediately. My respiratory rate, I never desat it. So what was it that, number one, I was sustaining, somewhat balance, even under this crisis situation. But what was again, I go back to the word core. I went into prayer. I went into asking for the divine guidance and muscle testing, and found 91 layers of crying had surfaced. Now, am I able in my human existence to make sense of all that? No, but I saw the results. I have never had a breathing problem, and I go up and down that hill all the time. The 91 layers through muscle testing were inherited, but also my mother was in the hospital 6 out of 9 months. So intrauteral, I absorbed all this emotion of crying. So much is already imprinted in our being by 7 years old. 70% of who you are, who I am right now, is imprinted on there. Now, can this imprint be changed? Yes. I blast that out. Yes, it can. And it helps with, that's what Joe's Dispenza is all about, about the words and the reframing and the affirmations. To help to do that with greater ease is the blessings of the work that God has given me to do. And that's the emotion code, body code, so that it's not by force. You're being present to the greater message that is also there. So before you know it, this not good enough, I'm not smart enough. Oh, you can hear it. But over here it says, yes, I am. Yes, I will. And yes, I can. You're able in the moment to say, well, that was up until now.
Right.
And be able to go in to find out not only who you think you are, but who you get to become. If somebody would have told me 10 years ago that I'd be doing what I'm doing right now, I would have laughed in their face.
Wow.
Yeah. At 45 years old, being diagnosed with herniated compression degeneration, being told I was going to be in a wheelchair. A lot of this is physical. So my mind was, oh, this is something for physical. Well, in 2008, 2010, I went through bankruptcy and almost heading into a divorce. What showed up again was the tool to help clear some of the framework that was aligning to that kind of event in my life.
Right.
Well, now I am worthy, I am deserving, and I am debt-free. This is not about the money. It's about who I became in the process. And my marriage was saved. And that's so important to me for many reasons. Because we stopped looking at our differences and found out more of who we were inside. And, what is a good marriage is one that comes together to see the good in yourself and to help rise each other up to be your best. Well, we were able to do that and renewed our vows the last 2 years of our marriage. And that is very important to me because he died 4.5 years ago, suddenly.
Wow.
So it's great gratitude that I have. Do I fully understand the magnitude of it? No, because I see miracle after miracle after miracle. And miracles are not something just physical, like we hear in the Bible that, they was raised from the dead, and all this.
Right.
Miracles is aligning with the divine light, the love, the joy within each of us in the moment. It's like I tell people it's going to the eye of the storm, because right now that's exactly where we have the greatest opportunity.
Right. Is going to the core.
To go. Yes, go to the core.
Go to the core. Go to the core. You've mentioned so many things here, and I love that you're doing this energy work. You're looking back at how these experiences have been imprinted upon you, how they've been imprinted even prenatally before you were born, and how this manifests and what that looks like throughout your life, and recognizing that something's going on. But here's the beauty, as you said, which I've known, is we're built with a certain DNA, but what you can change is the way that it expresses. And so those messages, those words, those phrases, all that reframe will become natural once you've changed it and you continue to make those changes. And we grow, we keep growing. Every day we're growing. We don't finish growing until we're actually gone. So let me ask you a question. Can you give the listeners an overview of what energy medicine is and the techniques you would use to support them?
Well, energy medicine is one sometimes, many times misunderstood right now. And you can imagine, coming from a medical background, it's not to be forced upon. It's to allow them the time to take the steps in the journey. And through working with nurses and doctors and such, they started to notice that what I was offering, them and my patients, they started seeing the difference. The trouble that happens with that is that they can't understand it. How did that happen? Well, yet you can talk to them and say, well, when you pray for somebody, do you want to know how it works and how you just know you have the full intention that it's working to their highest and greatest good? That intention and love and gratitude is the core of where I be as a practitioner. And the tool is the emotion code and the body code. And I actually have in front of me, and it's really sums it up so clearly that I, if you don't mind, I'd like to read it real quick.
Sure, please.
I do a form of energy work called the body code, which deals with balancing the body in all aspects of health, including emotionally, energetically, nutritional, structurally, toxicity, and more. The body code is the most sophisticated and complete method of body balancing that has ever been devised, and is designed to detect the underlying causes of imbalance that are usually undetected. The technique is not meant to replace medical treatment, but by correcting any underlying imbalance, we help the body innate self-healing. I love that phrase. Ability to take over. As a result, pain and malfunction in the body often disappears. Organs and glands are often better able to function as they should. Energy levels often rise. And this is such an important part. Emotional issues often become manageable or non-existent. And right now, with everything that's going on, for them to find that inner strength and connect with it, and to have a tool that when they feel tilted or they start to have that anxiety or they feel the orchestra playing louder than than the quietness, to teach individuals the emotion code, to help them to know how to use this tool themselves, and then to connect with me so that maybe I can help them to go deeper than they can do on their own. That is a joy. That is, there's hundreds that have now been doing this. And what's interesting is many of my clients are now certified practitioners because of the miracles and the benefit that they've seen in their life. Now, another form of energy work that I work with is, I don't get a lot into nutritionals because number one, I believe that there's basic ones, but like it said, if our body's functioning, it's no different sometimes than medication, probably a little bit to keep that balance, but you don't need a pantry full, you know, and so many people are taking various medications or nutritionals or having treatments, and they're not getting the results because the energy that we work with has to be released. And how do I know this? Because I work with, in conjunction with acupuncturists, chiropractors, nutritionalists, doctors. They are asking me to work with the client to help them to get better treatment because they have found that is so. Like, for instance, a woman came to me and she had just gone to a chiropractor after the session for 4 years. She has gone to get that adjustment. This is the first time that it connected and lasted. How did I find this out? Remember, I came from the scientific background.
Right.
How did I find that the Nikan technology, the emotion code, body code worked? Well, God gave me animals. And in the certification for the emotion code, you actually have to work on animals in the process of learning the program, learning the technique. You cannot placebo an animal. So I had this horse where I did a horse wellness preview and I used the magnets. And this horse is just leaning on me like, oh, I love this. And some of the problems of his biting were completely resolved. I'm going, wow. So then here comes the emotion code, body code. The first animal that I worked on was a dog that had severe separational anxiety and phobias. And the owner took me out to the car and the car was just smeared with his, trying to get out. And she didn't know what to do. One session and I was, clearing. And yes, there was some inherited and there was some trauma and everything. Released. And we just take a magnet going over the governing meridian, holding the intention of love and gratitude. Not, oh, we want this one. No, just the highest good for them. And that this energy is completely released. The dog looked at me, shook his head, and walked out. So the question often comes, well, does this last? How do we know it's permanent? I saw that dog 4.5, probably 5 years later. Could have cared less if we were in the room. It was totally fine. And I also know in my own self, 1997 is when I met Dr. Nelson. I also got the Nikan technology and met Dr. Nelson all at the same time. You remember, my focus was to find a solution. Okay, so here we fast forward. I'm in an accident. A guy T-bones me. We do x-rays. They can't find any arthritic changes. They can't find the herniation compression. I saw the difference, but that confirmation, and I see people with, unbelievable lab work or failing marriages, or, they can't keep a dime in their pocket. And I see the results. One man, he was very, very financially successful, took my program. What I didn't know about him is that no matter what success he had, he never felt fulfilled because of a paradigm of belief from his childhood. And he is in an amazing relationship. He's traveling all over the world. He's continuing his work, but he has expanded. Why? Because his heart is now expanding.
Right. Absolutely. Well, there's so much you've touched on in regards to faith, belief, thinking beyond the quantitative sciences. Not that they don't have a role, but there's other things to consider as well.
Yeah.
That we have a tendency as human beings to have both, and I always say this, both innate and learned resiliency. And so there's things that are just within us and things that we learn about the world based on our experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So I love what you touch on here in regards to energy medicine, some of the techniques that you've seen work, as well as those that you've actually used to help support others. You've gone through quite a bit here in relation to your own personal experiences, your own long-held beliefs, and how that imprinted on you, but how you changed that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You've talked about a lot here. Is there anything at this point, because as we close up, I want you to think about today, one last question. If you were to leave the listeners with some words of wisdom, what would they be, Ruth?
I'm going to start it by saying, during all the times of I call it the dark spots in my life, or the pits, it was the white dot. And that white dot is my message to the people. Believe in the magic that lies within you. Go find the magic. It's deep in your heart, and dream big. Bring your magic into the world. You are unique, and the world deserves to see that as you do.
Thank you so much, Ruth, for joining me on the Core Women podcast today.
Thank you. Many blessings to you and the listeners.
Thank you. You can connect with Ruth Kent by going to ruthkentllc.com.
Thank you for joining us on the Core Women podcast with Dr. Summer Watson. We're so glad you're here and would love to connect more with you. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Core Women, and on Twitter at Core Women 1. For more about Core Women and Dr. Watson, visit corewomen.com. Want more support and resources for amazing women like you? Great! Join Dr. Watson and Jen Fontanilla at the Life, Love, and Money Collective, a Core Women production that aids in understanding the key traits that might be getting in the way of living a life that you are absolutely passionate about. Connect with Summer and Jen and find out more at thelifeloveandmoney.com.